up, YouTube? Back at the track for part 3. I already did my workouts today, so I'm just kind of walking around the track right now, just relaxing and enjoying the sunset and the beautiful weather. It's gorgeous out today this spring. Trees are finally starting to bloom or blossom or whatever you want to call it, bud. But yeah, so in the last part, I got my DOT physical taken care of. And now, I saw that MoValley had opened up their applications starting tomorrow. And for substation techs, you don't have to have your CDL to apply, which normally is required. So this time around, I kind of got lucky. If I can get in for a test and an interview, and you know, obviously I'll have to get my CDL and stuff like that along the way, but it's a good opportunity for me to actually, you know, just apply. So yeah, just going to be studying a lot this week and kind of vlogging myself doing that, as well as going into the DMV and getting my permit. So bring you guys along with me, and excited to get this done. Currently, I'm in Norwalk, staying in a hotel the night before. Just drove 4.5 hours to get here. It's been a long day, but I'm really excited to go in and get this taken care of. And I kind of wanted to document just so that other people could kind of be aware of what it's like and some of the stuff that I've gone through. So I can't film inside the actual building, but what I can do, I can talk about what my experience was like, what the actual aptitude test was like, some of the questions, as well as the interview and some of the questions that they asked. So I'm about to head to bed, and once I wake up, hopefully everything goes good. So officially took my IBEW aptitude test and interview. First thing I could say is the facility is absolutely beautiful, very nice facility in MoValley. I really enjoyed being down there. I thought it was really cool. The one thing that stood out is there was a lot of people that were applying. I don't know if it was just the time of year. It's coming up on summer, so I'm sure they probably get a lot more people this time. But the thing that stood out the most was there was probably like 40 or 50 people in just the I guess you could say like class that was taking the test and going in for the interview with me. And generally you'd think it would be a lot of linemen that would be trying to get into MoValley, but in this case, a lot of majority of the people that were trying to get in were substation technicians. It was probably a good 20-25 people alongside me that were trying to get into the substation apprenticeship. A lot of them seem to have groundman hours. I unfortunately do not. I just have electrical experience working in HVAC. But that was probably the thing that stood out the most, was there was a lot of people that were trying to get into the subtech apprenticeship. After I got there, basically what we did was there was a pretty big lounge area, and all of the guys just kind of sat around in the lounge cafeteria area and signed in. They brought their driver's licenses, or we did, and gave our social security numbers, and then once the previous group of people was done with their tests, they would call us and we would go into like a classroom environment, and we sat down and we had these nice like school laptops that we would sit down and take the test on. They gave us a bunch of instructions on what to do and what not to do while signing in, and then as soon as we did sign in, the test basically began immediately. And what I will say is, for the aptitude test, I studied my butt off. I'm not gonna lie, I was studying for I probably studied for 40 or 50 hours the week before. I didn't have a ton of time to study. I wish I would have had more, just because I kind of crammed everything together. But overall, I thought that I was kind of rushed. I didn't really have a ton of time to study, but for the amount of time that I had, I think I did okay. For the actual test, it was a little bit harder than what I would have thought. Maybe that's because they have a lot of people and they changed the test criteria. But this is the only time I've ever taken the test, so this is really all that I can say about it. What it entailed was a lot of the information that you would get from the iPREP website, which is what they recommend for studying. This is what I used, by the way. I used iPREP. If you are thinking of getting into the subtech apprenticeship or into the IBEW in general, I would definitely recommend taking the iPREP course online. I think it costs like 40 bucks or something for you to use it, maybe even cheaper than that. But that's the one I did. I paid like 40 or 50 bucks for like a 3-month subscription to it, and I thought it prepared me pretty well. But once you actually start taking the test, it's a lot of similar information to what's on iPREP. A lot of like linear equations, solving for a specific variable. There's quite a few graph questions. It starts out with a lot of like pattern recognition, and basically all of the stuff that you do on the actual IBEW test is like kind of a harder version of what you would do on iPREP. So like for the pattern recognition, instead of it being like 5 plus or 5, 4, 7, 6, whatever, it's gonna be like 54, 63, 77, 92 instead of like smaller numbers, if that makes sense. So it's a bit amplified. The equations and stuff, there's a lot of like, what I noticed, like fractions for solving for variables, so I would get familiar with that. But overall, yeah, just the test and the reading portion too, I thought were a little bit harder. For the reading portion, I would say it's like 6 different passages. Each passage is like probably an entire page long, maybe a little bit longer, from like an actual book. And then you have 6 or 7 questions that you have to answer for that reading portion. And it tests your knowledge and your ability to pick out information from like a large passage of words, which in my opinion is actually a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I did the iPREP ones as well, and yeah, the actual IBEW knowledge test, it was a little more specific. The questions weren't like as straightforward and easy to pick out. Like it was, you really had to sit there and think and just kind of like go through a process of elimination. to find the actual best answer. And I thought that I did worse on the reading portion than the math portion. I haven't gotten my test results yet. It's Memorial Day, so I think I'm gonna get them either tomorrow or the next day. And once I get that, I'll share it with you guys and just show you how I think I did. As somebody who studied a lot within the course of a week, but still didn't feel 100% confident. Like, I mean, I got through all of the questions and stuff. Anyways, once you get done with the math and reading portions, you are determined whether you qualify for an interview or not. And all of the people that were in my class apparently passed. The lady that was in charge of our class or our group, she was extremely shocked because apparently this had never happened before. Every single person that was in our group passed the IBEW Aptitude test. Every single one of us. They were really shocked about that. But immediately after we got done with our tests, they let us know if you qualify for an interview, and then they give you instructions on what you're gonna do. And they usually have you wait out in the same room that you were before until the actual union members, board members are ready for you to come in and do the interview. This part was very interesting, to say the least. It's a very daunting experience. It's something that, it's not like your regular interview. It's not like something that I have ever done before. I was completely caught off guard. I spent so much time studying that I didn't really prepare myself for the actual interview portion. Try to explain this the best that I can, but they have you wait in a lobby before you actually go in, your group. So a bunch of you are just waiting in like a cafeteria until they're ready for you. And then once they're ready for you, they give you a list of people and you have to get in line according to the list. And when the person ahead of you gets done with their interview, they come out and then you go in, you do your interview, and then it just continues down the line. What we were told, the person that was in charge, he kind of gave us a speech before we went in. He told us that the board members, they didn't want any resumes, they didn't want us to ask any questions. They just wanted us to go in and out because they had a ton of people there and they just wanted things to go by quickly. I don't know if it's always like that. If there's less people, maybe they're more open to resumes and questions, but for us, that's how it was. It was just kind of an in and out, they would ask you questions sort of thing. Once it eventually got to the point where we were in line and we were ready to go in, the first couple people, they went in, they were in there for a couple minutes, and then they were out and they left the building. And then it was my turn. So I ended up going in, and this is kind of my experience and what it was like for me. I'm sure it's different for everybody, but you know, I'm a pretty shy person in general. So when I walked in, a bunch of union members in there, and they're all sitting at their table, and they all had a bunch of laptops. They all seemed kind of disinterested, and they seemed kind of ornery. I'm not gonna lie, like they didn't want to be there. It could be like part of their strategy, like they're supposed to do that because they're trying to see what your reaction will be and how you handle a high pressure moment. But as soon as I walked in the door, one of the members that I could see at the end of the table, I couldn't see the other guys because there was a wall that was kind of blocking them. But one of the guys looked at me and he was like, oh, stay there. Like he put his hand up and he told me to stay. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll stay. And after a couple seconds, once they got done doing whatever they were doing, he told me to come in, and he waved me in. So I walked over, and what it is basically like a really large table that's probably like 15 feet long. You have all these members that are just sitting around it. Some are close to you, some are at the other end of the table, and they're all just sitting there on their laptops doing their own thing. They don't greet you, they don't say hi to you or anything. So I walked in and I introduced myself, I told them my name, and then I sat down. And it was kind of awkward, I'm not gonna lie. You kind of sit down and they're all just staring at their laptops. I'm guessing they're probably like reading your resume or reading what information about you. And as you're sitting there, they'll just kind of pop their head up and look at you, or one of them will, and they'll ask a question. The questions that I got was, do you know what a substation is? So, you know, I was kind of nervous and shy, so I gave the best answer that I thought I could give. And when I gave the answer, the guy kind of gave like a disgruntled look, like he was angry. And so I thought that maybe I answered it poorly. And then he looked down at his table and that was it. And then it kind of went silent again. And then the next guy would look up at me, ask me a question. One of them asked me if I'd be willing to get groundman hours. And I told him, yeah, absolutely. And then he kind of gave me a smile, and then he looked down at his laptop. And then one other guy, he asked me about my CDL, because I don't have my CDL yet. And I told him that I'm, you know, in the process of getting my permit right now, and then as soon as I get that, I'm gonna be getting my CDL hours. And then he just kind of nodded his head, looked down. And that was kind of the whole experience. It was just a lot of, they didn't ask you a lot of questions about yourself. They didn't ask you personal questions. They was just kind of they would ask you things that correlated with the program, and it seemed more like a personality test than it actually seemed like an interview. It seemed like they were trying to gauge whether you would be good for the apprenticeship. But yeah, that was my experience. It was very unique. It was not like something that I've ever done before. When I got done, I was like so confused. I felt like I bombed it. Like, I thought that I gave horrible answers and that I didn't do well. Obviously I haven't gotten my results yet, so I'm not entirely sure how I did. I'll keep you guys updated on that and let you know. But I think I did pretty good on the test, and I thought that I bombed the interview, but we will see. And yeah, that was my experience. It was a lot different than I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be them trying to get to know you and asking questions about yourself and letting you kind of go off and about what you've done in the past for work experience, but it was nothing like that. I think they just kind of already had your resume pulled up online and they were reading off of that. And yeah, so it was interesting to say the least. But I'm back home. It's Memorial Day. They told us immediately after that we would hear back the following week because they're going to be closed on the weekends. So here I am, just kind of waiting on that and nervous to find out what I got. But either way, if I didn't rank well, I'm probably going to follow what the one board member said about getting groundman hours and trying to do as much as I can to, you know, qualify to actually get into the apprenticeship the next time that I possibly go into interview, if I don't get in this time, which I have a feeling isn't going to happen because I don't have a ton of experience and stuff, but we'll see. You never know. But yeah, once I get those results, I'll pull them up and I'll let you guys know kind of how I did.